It's Rich, Tennessee Homestead. How in the heck are you? Well, belated Happy New Year. Been kind of under the weather. Yeah. I wanted to get this out to you. And it's 2024 already. Can you believe that stuff? Yeah, in an election year? Oh, man. Let the BS and lying begin, huh? Good grief. Here we go. Washington, D.C. I don't know what else to tell you, folks, but I have been doing a lot of research and a lot of looking at this. And I really do think, and I'm going to probably start a series called The Swamp, the D.C. Swamp. Yeah. So there'll be a bunch of these coming at you. You got to laugh about it. Otherwise, you would probably turn violent. Honestly. I'm going to be looking at budgets of different agencies, what they're doing. I'm going to look at different laws, what they're doing. Okay? If you look at our Congress, they just gave another $100 billion to Ukraine. Now, Ukraine is getting shoved back by the Russians at about a rate of 3 to 12 kilometers a day. They're just steadily, day by day, pushing them back. They have got enough troops, the Russians have enough troops in Ukraine to roll over what's left of the Ukrainian army and crush them. And I think that's probably going to be coming later on this winter as they get a good solid ground. Got a lot of equipment there, folks, and a lot of guys that they have been running up onto the lines, putting them up there for a few days and pulling them back, giving the guys that are on the front line, the experienced combat soldiers, time off. Russia will finish this. Just about how is the question. And from listening to Putin's speeches and other people in Russia talking, it's probably going to be Western Ukraine's what's going to be left of the Ukrainians. And, you know, with all the lies and all the nonsense that has come out, Russia's stayed with where they're at. They're probably pushing close to 100,000 KIA. Their numbers are a little lower at that. They're putting it in the 68 kind of series, but let's give them 100K. Okay, countries do like to tell stories, like Ukraine. They finally had a Ministry of Defense official in Ukraine, went whoops and told the truth. Over 500,000 soldiers have died so far. That's according to Ukraine's own report. 500,000 men, and that's not counting the civilians and the people in Donbass and all that region down in eastern Ukraine. You know, this whole war, when it started in 2014 by the U.S. and NATO, we started the proxy war and started killing Russians, which knew would draw Russia into that fight. I have to admire Putin for his taking it one baby step at a time, not wanting to get crazy with it. He's still, you don't understand. That man could call up for a mobilization, okay, and put 20 million troops into Ukraine. Think about that for a minute. Now, will he negotiate with the West? You know, I was finding it funny that the West has finally got that to sink into their little canoodles, that Putin and the Russian government won't even talk to anybody in the West anymore. When Putin and them said that the Cold War's on, and it's not ever going to change now, they meant it. They've replaced everything that they sell to the West. So it's going to be up to the United States to start drilling oil like crazy so that Europe has oil, because they have no intention to turn those taps back on, ever. To some of the countries that backs them, like Hungary and or Serbia, they'll turn the taps back on to them and give them cheap gas. Americans, we're going to rake the Europeans over the coals. We're doing it already. Yeah, it's crazy. We're their allies, their friends. Yeah. But this series is going to be about your government. What's happened? Why is it that a temporary law that took away most of your rights and freedoms, called the Patriot Act, which was supposed to be a temporary law that had to be extended every year. Barack Obama came into office, changed it to a permanent law, and gave it more teeth. It is an unconstitutional law, period. Takes away a lot of your rights. Gives the government an abundance of power. Well, nobody's attacked us in a while. We're the guys who usually do the attacking. If we would stop attacking people, fewer people would want to attack us. Case in point, Syria and Iraq. They bombed both those countries recently with our aircraft carriers that were over there. Now, first they told on the Western media that we attacked Iranian proxies in Syria. They attacked a border opening that the Syrians had put in place because we took their other two border crossings and we've been using them to ship their oil that we're stealing from them out of their country. Stealing. We're thieves. America's thieves. But they attacked, and these were Syrian soldiers. They were not any kind of proxies or anything else. We've been doing the same thing in Iraq. We've been stealing their oil. We're taking absolutely about 25-30% of their oil daily. The UN, it was presented to the UN. These countries had told the United States, Syria government, and the Iranian government, or Iraqi government, get out. The UN agreed. You have no business there, U.S. You're now in violation of international law. They better watch it. The Americans come along and blow the hell out of them for being in violation of international law, for God's sake. You know, the laws the Americans wrote to make everybody else obey, but they do not. Yeah, those laws. That's the ones I'm talking about. The Iraqis and the Syrians both attacked our bases. Now, we lost. The only report I got, hard report I got out of there, was at least 22 U.S. soldiers died in Syria. Don't know how many in Iraq. We didn't do it immediately. We waited about a week and retaliated against them. The UN had said that we had no right to self-defense if they threw us out of the country physically. Forced us out. Had no right to self-defense because we were in there in violation of international law. That didn't stop us. Those laws don't apply to us. We just write them to make other little people bow down to them. Kind of like what your government does with you. And don't think for 30 seconds that if they thought they could get away with it, they'd bomb you too. Israel is now at The Hague. Little old South Africa went after them, and they're doing a pretty good job. Apparently, all the shooting off the mouth that Israel's been doing over there about the Palestinians, and the generals in the IDF have been shooting off and telling their soldiers to do, and soldiers, and all going out on Telegram, man. They're using those Telegram messages against Israel. And it looks like they're putting together a really, really strong case for genocide. What's going to happen then? Now, if by international law we do what we say we're going to do, if Israel gets convicted, is found guilty, we would have to cut our ties with Israel. We can't give them help. The other allies have to do stuff like that. Of course, we got rid of all the Nazis. So let's see how that one plays out too. Israel is committing a genocide. The whole thing with the Hamas attack, if you go out and you look at the media coverage by the Israelis, you will find that most of the people that died during that died at the hands of the IDF. People leaving the festival, their cars were attacked by helicopters. Helicopter gunships shooting rockets and machine guns into the cars. Hamas had no helicopters. That's what the people on the ground were saying was happening. They were caught between Hamas and the IDF, the people that was on foot out there. They're running like crazy. They're caught between the two, and they're running toward the IDF for protection when the IDF opened fire on Hamas. I'm sure they tried to avoid some of those Israelis. The one news report I'd seen, there was no 40 kids beheaded, by the way. That was a French journalist and some low-ranking officer from the IDF put that nonsense together. What was a true one was there was 20 females being held in a house, hostages that were getting ready to transport them over into Gaza. Well, the IDF showed up with tanks. The 8 Hamas gentlemen, which I found the final total was 8, went to try to surrender to the IDF. And the IDF opened fire on that house, killing the 8 Hamas terrorists and 18 of the 20 women that were inside that house. One was extremely badly wounded to where she couldn't talk to anybody, but guess what? The last lady in the bunch, she was fine. She was hurt a little bit, but she could talk. And she told the Israeli press exactly what the IDF was doing. The IDF recently gunned down 3 of their own soldiers who escaped from Hamas and were trying to get back to the lines. Turns out that the IDF soldiers had been given the order when they first started shooting to cease fire. And they stopped for about 2 minutes and then started shooting again. I guess they don't teach them what ceasefire means stop it until somebody tells you to fire again. They just got ticket on the road. So what's going on over there is the Israeli government has decided it's kind of the Israeli government's final solution. They're either going to drive them out into the desert or kill them. They're having telegraph videos put out there where these IDF soldiers go, nobody's innocent, the babies are even guilty, they're future Hamas. So they're going to have a problem in The Hague, and South Africa's attorneys, and there are attorneys in there from all over the world who are just going up their butts. And they were stupid and did videos. They got them all on camera. We shouldn't be in the middle of it at all, period. Our politicians will do whatever they're told by these people. There's the owners of the country right there. Let's talk about, and this is what I'm really going to be doing a lot of talking about in this series, the ridiculousness of what your government does. So we talked a little bit about the Patriot Act, which is unconstitutional, is nothing more than giving total government control over most things in your life, and has no valid purpose today. It should have been done away with, and we need to make sure that the politicians going in at the end of this election have it tattooed on their foreheads. You will repeal that law. Now, that's what gives them things like the FISA courts, to where they can go in and not have to produce any real evidence to get your butt hauled into jail. It was originally set up for foreigners. That needs to all go away. Patriot Act, FISA courts, all that nonsense goes away. All this top secret nonsense. John F. Kennedy was killed back in the 60s, but every president that looks at the actual what happened, even though it was supposed to have been released to us back 13, 14 years ago, no president has done it. Not Obama, not Trump, not Biden. Why? Because I got the funny feeling items on their favorite people list, like the CIA and probably the FBI, would probably get drove out of Dodge by the American citizen when they find out you assassinated our own president. Really. Same thing with Robert Kennedy. Classified, what does that really mean? We're not going to tell you, American people, what the hell we're doing. That's what classified means. Because you'll get pissed off and you might kick us out of office. We don't want that. That's what classified means. We're hiding crap from you that we don't want you to know. That's what classified means. This has gotten real long. Got a lot to do. Try to make next one kind of more fun. But understand, I'm going to run at least 1 or 2 of these at you a week. And the rest of it's going to be back to the farming stuff. I kind of enjoyed that. Love you guys. Appreciate you. I'm out of here. Talk to you later. Bye.